Hey everyone, what's up? I've got some absolutely incredible news for you today that every gun owner needs to hear about. In a state like California, where gun laws have been suffocating our Second Amendment rights for decades, we just witnessed something truly historic. A court just delivered a massive blow to one of California's most restrictive gun laws, and this permanent injunction changes everything for gun owners across the entire nation. This is the kind of victory we've been fighting for. And honestly, it proves that our constitutional rights are finally being recognized and protected the way they should be. Trust me, you're going to want to hear every detail about this groundbreaking decision. Before we go forward into this amazing victory, I need your help with something important. We're working hard to bring you critical information about your Second Amendment rights, and we're on a mission to reach our first 1,000 subscribers. I know it sounds small, but every single one of you watching this video right now can help us hit that milestone today. If you believe in protecting our constitutional rights and want to stay informed about these major legal victories, hit that subscribe button right now. And here's something special. If you subscribe during this video, drop a comment saying Firearms Advisor, and I'll personally reply to each and every one of you to say thank you. Your support means everything to us. And together, we're building a community that stands strong for the Second Amendment. All right, let's get into this historic legal victory that just happened. And I'm telling you, this is a win on top of a win. We've been following this case closely here at Firearms Advisor, and this is one I've been personally waiting for because it doesn't just impact California residents. This affects gun owners across the entire country. The case is Miller versus California, and it directly challenges one of the most restrictive and long-standing firearms regulations that has been violating constitutional rights for over 20 years now. For those of you who might not be familiar with California's gun laws, let me paint you a picture. California has maintained some of the most extreme restrictions on lawful firearm ownership and carry in the entire nation. They've consistently refused to recognize permits from other states. And they've created this incredibly complex and burdensome system that essentially makes it impossible for non-residents to exercise their Second Amendment rights when traveling through or visiting California. Think about that for a second. The moment you cross into California, you're essentially stripped of your constitutional protections and forced to disarm, regardless of your legal status in your home state. It doesn't matter if you're a law-abiding citizen with a valid carry permit. California treats you like you have no rights at all. This case actually achieved its first major victory back in June of this year, and that preliminary ruling was already a significant breakthrough. But here's where California showed its true colors. The judge initially asked both parties, the plaintiffs and the state defendants, to work together and develop a reasonable process for compliance. But California, being California, wanted to impose the same type of bureaucratic nightmare they've created with all their other so-called compromise solutions. They proposed requiring applicants to jump through additional hoops, sign multiple affidavits, apply in specific counties, and comply with over 6 pages of additional requirements that even California residents don't have to meet. Can you believe that? They wanted to create an even more complicated system that still violates constitutional rights, just with extra steps. But here's where this gets really good. The legal team representing the plaintiffs wasn't having any of California's bureaucratic games. They told the court straight up that these additional requirements were still unconstitutional, and they demanded that the judge issue a complete permanent injunction that would simply eliminate the law entirely rather than allowing California to create another complicated workaround system. Their argument was powerful and crystal clear. Constitutional rights shouldn't require citizens to navigate an administrative maze that serves no legitimate government interest. They pointed out that requiring non-residents to meet different and more burdensome standards than residents creates an unconstitutional two-tier system for exercising the same fundamental right. The legal team emphasized something crucial. The Second Amendment doesn't become less applicable when you cross state lines. States cannot create discriminatory systems that treat constitutional rights differently based on where you live. This is a fundamental principle that California has been violating for decades, and on August 19th, the judge agreed completely and issued exactly what the plaintiffs requested: a straightforward permanent injunction that blocks enforcement of the law altogether, no complicated application processes, no additional requirements, no county-specific restrictions, no bureaucratic workarounds. The court simply ruled that the law is unconstitutional and cannot be enforced, period. This means that the restrictive statute that has been denying Second Amendment rights for over 20 years is now permanently blocked, and California cannot continue to enforce these discriminatory restrictions against lawful gun owners. Here's the official statement from the legal team that was published just days after this permanent injunction was issued. Earlier this week, the court held a final hearing to resolve the dispute over the form of the injunction. The state of California had requested the court to issue a complex injunction requiring applicants to submit sworn statements, apply only in specific counties, and comply with over 6 pages of additional conditions and qualifications that don't apply to residents. But the court sided completely with the constitutional challenge and issued a straightforward injunction that simply blocks enforcement of the discriminatory law entirely. The actual permanent injunction issued by Judge Patricia Ramos states that the defendants, including Attorney General Rob Bonta, their officers, agents, servants, employees, and attorneys, and any other person acting in concert with them, are hereby permanently enjoined from enforcing California Penal Code sections that create discriminatory application processes for non-resident firearm permits. What makes this ruling so incredibly significant is that it doesn't just create another bureaucratic process, it eliminates the discriminatory law entirely. California can no longer treat non-residents differently than residents when it comes to exercising Second Amendment rights. This creates a legal precedent that could influence similar challenges in other restrictive states across the country. It demonstrates that courts are increasingly willing to issue broad constitutional protections rather than allowing states to create workaround systems that still violate fundamental rights. This is the kind of momentum we need to see spreading nationwide. Now let's be completely honest about what this ruling means in practical terms. This is obviously not the perfect scenario that we would ultimately like to see in California, which would be constitutional carry for all law-abiding citizens. We're still quite a distance away from that level of constitutional restoration in that state. What we would really prefer to see is full reciprocity with other states where your valid permit from your home state would be recognized in California, just like a driver's license is honored across state lines without question. But here's the important thing to understand. This permanent injunction represents a fundamental shift in how courts are approaching Second Amendment challenges in California. Instead of allowing the state to create complicated workaround systems that still restrict constitutional rights, judges are now issuing broad injunctions that eliminate the problematic laws entirely. While the application process still exists, it can no longer impose different or more burdensome requirements on non-residents, which eliminates the two-tier constitutional rights system that California had created. This permanent injunction is just the latest in a series of major constitutional victories that we're seeing across the country. And here at Firearms Advisor, I'll be tracking every single development as more courts start recognizing that Second Amendment rights cannot be treated as second-as constitutional protections. There are several more significant cases working their way through the federal courts right now that could build on this victory and create even broader constitutional protections for gun owners. This is just the beginning of a wave of change, and we're going to be here covering every single victory as it happens. Now, before you go, I want to ask for your support one more time. We're working incredibly hard to bring you this critical information about your constitutional rights, and we need your help to reach our first 1,000 subscribers. I know we can hit that milestone with your support. In fact, I believe we can do it with this video alone. If you found this information valuable, if you believe in protecting our Second Amendment rights, and if you want to stay informed about these game-changing legal victories the moment they happen, please hit that subscribe button right now and ring that notification bell. And don't forget, comment Firearms Advisor below if you subscribed during this video, and I'll personally reply to thank you for being part of this community. Your support isn't just about numbers. It's about building a strong community of informed gun owners who stand together for our constitutional rights. Every subscription, every like, every comment helps us reach more people who need to know about these victories. Together, we're making a difference, and together, we're going to keep fighting for our rights. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue covering the fight for our Second Amendment rights. Stay armed, stay informed, and stay